Excellency, Madam President, President Sahle-Work Zewde, President of the Federal Democratic Republic of Ethiopia, thank you for being here. We know your heart with the women and your heart with the women of Ethiopia, but also the women of Africa. Thank you for your leadership. Excellency Dr. Ergoji Tesfaye Meskel, the Minister of Women and Social Affairs, thank you. Our he for she, Dr. Claver Gatete, thank you. And the Secretary General and Executive Secretary of the UNECA, thank you for welcoming us. My sister, Dr. Anna Tete, the Special Envoy of the UN Secretary General for the Horn of Africa. Let me also recognize all the diplomats here, but in particular, my sister who's leading this, the Ambassador of Ireland, who really brought us here. Thank you, my sister, for inviting us. We are very proud of the work that you do in the diplomacy here in Addis Ababa. Let me also recognize the one he for she, Dr. Vasu Gaunden, the ED of Accord in South Africa. Members of the Diplomatic Corps, representative from the UN agency, representative of civil society, and I will just say distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning or afternoon. It's a profound honor to stand before you today as we gather to celebrate the International Day of Women in Diplomacy 2024. Allow me to express my appreciation to the Republic of Ireland, Madam Ambassador, the diplomatic communities, and all partners of this meeting for inviting me and making sure I effectively participate in this important event. This occasion is particularly significant as it precedes the 25th anniversary of the adoption of UN Security Council Resolution 1325, which was adopted, will be in 2025, having the 25th anniversary celebration, and the 30th anniversary of the Beijing Declaration. This milestone reminds us of our shared commitment to the empowerment and equal participation of women in all spheres of life, especially in diplomacy, peace, and security. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, the establishment of the International Day of Women in Diplomacy in June 24 by the UN Secretary Assembly in 2022 was a monumental step toward recognizing and celebrating the critical role women play in diplomacy. This day not only highlights the leadership and achievement of women in this field, but also underscores the persistent need for equal participation in decision-making processes. Historically, women were excluded from public offices, we know, even not just in Africa, but elsewhere, including diplomatic roles, until the early 20th century. I think, although legal barriers began to lift in the 1920s, history and research have demonstrated women's representation in international decision-making remains, we all agree, limited. The journey of women in diplomacy has been one of resilience. Women want to be part of negotiation at the highest level, and they've showed their determination. We can see it in the room, those who are here today and who are part of our diplomatic corps. Today, we honor the progress made, you have all made, and the women who have paved the way. It is worth here mentioning the most befitted example His Excellency Sahle-Work Zewde, Ethiopian first female president, who have served her country with a sound and dedicated diplomat. She served her country in many places, including my own country, Senegal. And we know the work that you have done from west to east, from south to north, and we are grateful for that work you have done to bring Ethiopia very close to us. Thank you for that. But being a president, your appointment and action since you have been in office has raised hope among many of us. Hope that women can lead, and you have demonstrated that. Thank you for inspiring us and inspiring many of us, the young, and being part of what we call our circle of the African Women Leaders Network. Madam Ambassador, let me also say, Nicola, that when you lead your country here, what you did is to reach out to us, is another example, and many of the ambassadors that are in the room, to reach out to us, to be close to us, and to say we are together. And sharing with us another example when women have made strides in mediation, like the Northern Ireland example, when women influence the Good Friday peace agreement, which is really sustainable, and that we are learning from that in the implementation of 1325. We can say that much progress has been made by relevant organizations, including the African Union. I'm very proud here to look at what African Union have been doing in the maybe few years. And I'm sure that you agree with me that the AU Peace and Security Council, and I see many ambassadors. We have, I think, right now 5 of them, female ambassadors in Peace and Security Council. You have opened the way for women participation and leadership in conflict preventive diplomacy, including putting in place Feminist Africa. That is great because they are working to make sure that they are at the table, including the institutionalization of my office, the Office of the Special Envoy on Women, Peace and Security, which have been the first one in the world, being copied by Canada and Norway and others. So we're seeing now many Office of Special Envoy on Women, Peace and Security. But also the Peace and Security Council have institutionalized open session, regular open session on WPS. We have also adopted the Continental Result Framework, which we are using to track performance, women leading peace negotiation. So it's one indicator that we are looking at, and also women leading observer mission and mediation efforts. We can maybe talk about Pumzile Mnambanguka, but also recently we have Madam Dr. Kazibwe, who is also in the panel on Sudan. But we need more. This progress are recorded, encouraging the absence of women at the table continue irrespective of the useful contribution they bring to the peace process. I think you all agree with me that, yeah, there are progress, but we need to do more. Many women are still far away from the possibility of offering themselves to lead or to contribute meaningfully. In situations where they do, they are momentous fences they must scale to mobilize the resources needed, as well as to beat the systems which are structured around patriarchal system, what we call the toxic masculinity, with only 2 sitting African female head of state and 1 prime minister. There is still a long way to go in maximizing the benefits of women-led governance for our global development. we need the next Secretary General to be a woman of the United Nations. We need to do that. We need to advocate for it. So it is therefore important that we put in place a mechanism, an ecosystem with accountability measure to help us reverse the current trend, the current status, where we are largely missing the benefit of women's contribution. In the context of WPS, that is all the relevance of the Swapomund process. Madam Ambassador of Namibia, thank you for taking us there and making sure that we set the tone to say women should be there. To do what? We need to make sure that we set up a minimum gender target for women participation in peace process, in track 1 process. Even though they are track 3, track 2, sometimes we need them at track 1. And we need to work within this process. We need to appoint women as lead mediators, not to be just part of a panel and being the third one, but to lead mediators. We have great women of Africa. Anna Tete is here as an example, who was a minister of foreign affairs of her country and who can lead those. She's special envoy, and we acknowledge, the expertise that she's bringing in the overall peace and security architecture. Thank you, my sister, for being who you are and supporting the mediations in Africa. Ensuring that conflict analysis integrate gender perspective. And we have centers of excellence in Africa, and we need to make sure that they do those analyses for us. Provide financial and technical support to efforts for women consensus building and developing a common agenda. Women are not an homogeneous group. I will just touch on this when I talk about Sudan very briefly. We need to ensure women representation in technical or thematic working groups set up to lead discussion in peace dialogue. And we need to allocate 30% of women fund from the AU Peace Fund, but any other fund. I think we talk about it. The Executive Secretary of ECA have just highlight on those financial resources that are needed by women, not globally on a development agenda or economic, but at the peace table as well. So it's important to assure that gender-balanced recruitment panels and innovative measures to retain female diplomats. You are the one negotiating many of our agreements, bilateral, multilateral, and we need you to be leading those discussions, to put the human dimension in the discussion we have in our system. So, Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, I'm happy to report that in line with the Swapomund process, we organized on 3rd, 4th July, just last week, high-level dialogue conference with the women of Sudan to ensure a gender-inclusive peace process in Sudan. It was not easy. I was there with Dr. Kazibwe, I was there with Madame Pumzile, the Prime Minister of Uganda, but many of us around them to try to support their work. We say women are not a homogeneous group, but they can disagree sometimes in a violent way. We experience it. But at the end of the day, they agree. And that's the beauty of it. We disagree, but at the end we agree. And I see my sister, the ambassador of Uganda, who was also part of us, and who really make sure that the women at the end of the day, they agree on a common agenda. Only women in 2 days can do that. Start fighting, but at the end, yes, you and women were there and really helping us, supporting us on this process. They, in very short time, they agree on 3 documents. The first one is what they wanted to share with the panel on Sudan. The second one they agree on is who is going to represent them. And the third one that they have also put in place was the communique that we are sharing with everybody. So after fighting, after disagreeing, the women agree in a common agenda. And on the process they will put in place as well. So I think work is in progress. It's a test for all of us, and we will follow the process and analyze it in the Swakopmund process to see how we are supporting them to come together with resources, not just letting them in the corridor, and all of us, we will be together. In conclusion, I would like to leave you with a call to action from the patrons of the Africa Women Leaders Network, Madam Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, when she said, future generation will judge us not by what we say, but by what we do. We must act with urgency to take such quotes from the realm of aspiration into that of reality. Let us celebrate the achievement of women in diplomacy today and renew our commitment creating a world where gender equality is not an aspiration, but a reality. Together, we can build a brighter and more equitable and peaceful future for all. I thank you for your kind attention.